Ah, greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan,
And I'm Nick.
and today we are gonna be. I mean, usually we talk about bad movies, and today we're gonna talk about a recent movie that came out that you may, by chance, have heard of. There's a possibility.
Maybe.
Yeah. And we won't talk about whether it's bad or good yet because something happened recently that I don't even know how it went, to be honest, but yeah, the what is it called, the Academy Awards, right?
Mm-hmm. Just happened last night as of recording this,
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess I don't know, what are your thoughts, because I don't know, I didn't really pay attention to them overall. I know what won though, so.
Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention. I went to, like, my work had an Oscar party. It was just playing in the background while we all got dressed up and just partied kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you dressed as your favorite characters.
No, it was like a black suit and tie, kind of like we would be
Ah,
going to the Oscars kind of thing, yeah.
nice, nice.
But yeah, I wore like a tuxedo t-shirt and then just like a regular suit dress thing on top.
Yeah. All right.
But,
Yeah, I
yeah, it was
probably would have.
playing on in the background and shit. And it's
Yeah,
halfway paying attention to it.
cool. Yeah,
But
I
I did
probably
look it
would have.
up later and saw stuff that one, yeah.
I probably would have gotten dressed in a ball gown,
Yeah.
just to kind of be like Bella Baxter. So,
Yeah.
so.
I
Um,
did watch that movie actually last night.
which one?
Poor Things.
Oh, Poor Things. Oh yeah,
Right
that was.
after the Oscars, yeah. I was surprised because I was surprised it was getting so many wins.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'll check it out.
It's a
It
yeah.
was weird.
It's a cool movie, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Definitely weird. You're right.
But it looked really nice, that's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed that one a lot. I've pretty much enjoyed all of that guy's films. So I had some issues with The Lobster, but I don't know. I've
Hmm.
liked everything else basically. So did you see The Lobster?
I don't think so. I know it's
Okay.
with Colin Farrell or whatever, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
might have. I know he turns into a lobster or something like that, or is that
He,
walrus?
well, are you thinking of Tusk with Justin Long?
Tusk, okay, maybe.
um, it's the one where Colin Farrell. So he has a breakup, and it's like a dystopian, I guess, semi future where people have to be involved in a relationship and in a like be a couple with someone, or else they get turned into an animal of their choice. So he chooses to, like, if he doesn't get manage to find somebody within 30 days, I think it is, or something like that, he gets sent away to like a cottage with a bunch of other people, and it's like it's kind of uh sort of a uptight community of people who are really into like hooking people up with each other and all this stuff,
No.
and eventually he escapes. I mean, I don't want to give away the plot, but like eventually he gets involved with people who are kind of opposed to that ideology, but then they end up not really being any better. It's like another one of those types of stories, but pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound familiar at all then.
Okay. All right.
I did,
Uh,
so I was just looking at his shit I did. I did see Killing of a Sacred Deer though.
oh, okay,
That's
cool.
that's the one I was probably thinking of. Because that's
Ah,
Colin Farrell too, right?
yes, yes. Colin Farrell's in that one, and what's his name? Barry something.
Barry Coogan.
Barry Coogan. Yeah,
However the hell you say it, yeah.
yeah.
Coogan.
Kugan,
Yeah.
Kugan, whatever. Yeah.
I see that
those
one,
those K names. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one. I actually thought that one was kind of funny at times, like darkly funny, of course. Like the subject wasn't funny, but there were parts in it that were funny in sort of a darkly absurd way. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you remember that one very well, or
kinda. I do. I mean, I know. I definitely know I saw it, but it was a while ago by now. Yeah.
yeah? He has this very peculiar style. Once
Mm,
you've seen enough of his movies, it becomes more familiar. So,
yeah, that's for sure.
yeah. But Poor Things was probably one of his wildest. Uh,
Oh yeah, that was wild. It was. I was like, what the fuck? What am I watching at so many
yeah,
points throughout it?
yeah, yeah. A lot of sex.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly like right when she first started finding out about it or whatever. She like grabbed the cucumber and was like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck am I watching here?"
yeah. Like I was kind of surprised at times by kind
And
of
it
some
just
of the
kept
moments.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've watched like more than a few like nunsploitation movies. I mean, I'm no veteran to crazy sex movies, but this had some pretty intense moments. So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, um, what were the other ones that you watched?
For Best Picture,
Yeah,
just Oppenheimer and Barbie.
nice. So the two big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I saw those both. Yeah, and I don't know. Do you have any new thoughts on them, or do you remember them at all, really? Or
I remember both of them. Yeah. I
yeah,
wasn't surprised that Oppenheimer one
neither was
took them
I.
all. I do think, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. definitely deserved his. I thought he was like, great in it.
He was amazing. Yeah. Um, Cillian Murphy, or is it Killian Murphy or Cillian Murphy?
I think
Um,
Killian.
okay. Um, he did a great job in it too. So
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that he won. I was kind of thinking he was going to end up winning anyway. And then who was the one? But oh yeah, but Emma Stone won for Best Actress, which
Yeah.
I guess apparently she was surprised by. So
Yeah. She's pulled off a good what British accent or whatever.
mm, yeah,
She isn't British, right? She's American. Yeah.
I think she's American. Yeah, last time I checked. Um, and then who won for Best Actress? I forgot.
Best actress was Emma
Or
Stone.
I mean Best Supporting Actress. I mean, sorry.
Oh, it was in that one. Fuck, what was it?
Is it Barbie? Like America
Devon,
for
the holdovers,
Oh,
Devine.
the holdover. Oh, that was a good performance. Okay. Okay. That was a good movie. That one I did see.
I
So
want to see it. I heard it's real good.
it's worth watching. Yeah. Like I think it's yeah, it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It had a good soundtrack, it had a really neat style. Didn't really have much plot to it. There wasn't a whole lot going on in it, but the performance is really good. Paul Giamatti, it's probably one of his better performances actually.
Mm.
And his character was kind of an interesting character. Like he was pretty easy to get involved in kind of the plight of, and um I don't know, as somebody who has been involved in the education system, there were things about it that resonated with me quite a bit. Um like I think I've mentioned to you before, it wasn't really my favorite film of Alexander Payne's, but it was still pretty cool. Um and then what were the other ones that were nominated? Oppenheimer I really liked. Barbie,
Past lives.
yeah. Oh, Past Lives I have not watched yet.
Yeah.
That one looks cool though. Seems like really sad, but really good. So,
American Fiction. Don't even know what that one is.
oh yeah, somebody was telling me to watch it. I'll probably check it out. It sounds like something that could be pretty cool. Um, I definitely want to see Anatomy of a Fall, but I
Yeah.
haven't watched it yet. So
That's the one I want to see the most.
yeah.
I think.
And then Zone of Interest, it's definitely a very haunting movie, but probably not something I'd recommend to everyone just because it's about pretty disturbing stuff. I mean, it's about like a family that lives basically next to Auschwitz concentration camp, and there's like screaming and stuff going on, and it's about them just kind of going on about their lives, and it's just like it's pretty uncomfortable and hard to watch, and
Yeah.
it goes into some pretty like intense types of places. So it's
Yeah.
just not one that I think most people would really want to sit through. Just to
That
be
one
honest,
won Best International Film.
yeah,
The UK film. I guess that counts for internet. I mean, I guess so, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Best, yeah. It didn't. I guess it's not. It's not technically best international language or best foreign language or whatever. So yeah, um, Jonathan Glazer is a good filmmaker. So, but I mean, I definitely prefer Under the Skin personally as a movie. So
No, it
that's
was
just
made by
more
the
my
same
type of
guy.
thing. Yeah, that's the same director. So.
Huh.
Yeah, and he also did Sexy Beast with Ray Winston. And, what's his name? Ben Kingsley. Did you ever see that one?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of a weird, like, kind of underwater heist movie,
Huh.
but it's pretty odd as far as those types of movies go. And then he did that movie Birth with Nicole Kidman, which I don't know. I just remember that movie mostly just pissing me off. So I don't think I'm gonna watch that one again.
I saw Under the Skin. That's the only one of the, yeah. I saw it not too
Yeah,
long ago too.
yeah, yeah. That movie is nightmarish. Ugh.
Yeah. But
Um,
a lot of these movies
cool.
are too damn long. That's what I say.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, they're all time commitments, and especially Killers of the Flower Moon. I just
Yeah.
like that's the main reason I haven't watched it because it's like
Same
it's hard
here,
to
yeah.
find like 4 hours to.
I want to see it, but fuck, it's
Yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to like I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way to watch it in a group, just because I figure if it's gonna be that long, I may as well like watch it with other people just to get it off everyone's list at
Mm,
once. You know, just
that's a
to
good
save
point.
everybody some time. You know, but I don't know. It hasn't worked out so far, so we'll see. Um, let's see. And then yeah. So Anatomy of a Fall is really the only movie on this list that I would say objectively speaking is probably the one I'd find most interesting, but I haven't watched it yet. Um, and I don't know. Are there any others we haven't talked about?
Um, not really. Maestro. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't
No interest.
really want to watch a movie where Bradley, not Bradley Cooper. I'm getting tongue tied. I don't really want to see a movie where Bradley Cooper plays Leonard Bernstein. Like, there's just nothing interesting about that concept. And I love that music a lot, actually. Like when back when I lived in Lawrence, I got super into the music of Leonard Bernstein, but I don't want to see a movie where Bradley Cooper plays him. I'm just not interested, especially if he's directing it. It's like, oh man, now I'm even less interested. No, thank you.
Nope. Didn't look at all interesting
Yeah,
to me either, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's a good movie. I'm not trying to insult anybody who made it or anything.
Of
Just to
course.
be clear, I'm sure it's
Obviously.
good for what it is. I'm sure, for people who want to watch that type of thing, it's very fulfilling and intriguing. But I have a really tough time with like musical biopics. Like it has to be doing
Yeah.
something else other than being a musical biopic. I've come to realize like I can't do another movie like The Doors. Like that's just not enough for me. Like
Yep. I'm the same way. I'm
yeah,
not a fan of them.
yeah, yeah. There has to be more to it. And there's been so many Beatles documentaries, so many, and I've watched a lot of them, and I can't believe it. Like, because I'm not even that big a Beatles fan, but somehow I keep watching Beatles documentaries. Like, I even watched that Peter Jackson, like, Let's Get Back or whatever it's called. Like,
Mhm.
I don't, I'm It was really interesting. I learned a lot about them, but like, who has the time to watch stuff like that? Truthfully.
I haven't seen a one.
Mm. Well, I don't know if you've lucked out or if you've missed out. I can't decide. No. Best animated movie went to The Boy and the Heron, which I do want to see, but I haven't watched yet.
Me too. Yeah, I want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It was on my list, but never got to it.
Yeah. But the other nominees, let's see, I did see Nimona, and that one was really good. I enjoyed that one a lot. And Across the Spider-Verse. Wait,
Oh,
or
I
is it?
saw that
It's
one. That's
yeah.
Across. Yeah, I did see Across.
Okay,
That was good. I
that
liked
was
that.
really good. I
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah, I loved it just as much as the first one. I'd say.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
some people kind of go back and forth. I think I prefer the second one. If
I
if like
think I do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It was neat.
yeah. It's a little more convoluted, but that's kind of what I like about it, though. That's kind of what's cool about it.
Yeah.
uh,
Multiverse shit. Yeah.
yeah. Except it was actually done in a way that didn't like make you want to put your head through the wall, like the Flash. Oh my god. Um, let's see what else got nominated.
Robot Dreams.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
I'm gonna watch
It
that
does,
one soon.
yeah, it looks cool.
I've heard it. Like all my coworkers saw it. They said it was really good and shit.
Yeah, nice. Um, and then what was it Elemental, the Pixar movie? Haven't
Pixar.
watched it.
Obligatory Pixar nom. They have
Yeah,
to put one of
yeah,
those in every year.
yeah. Even if the movie isn't that good, like they'll still throw it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Wish by Disney. I don't even know anything about that one. I've lost track of all of these movies. I'm out of touch with the streaming world, and I'm lost. I'm lost in the sea. I'm basically just stuck at home watching movies on Tubi in my spare time. So that's
Tubi.
where I've plummeted. Yeah, Tubi has become my number one streaming service.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I find so much crazy stuff on there. It really makes me happy. Yeah, and most of it's bull crap. Most of it's like not good at all.
Uh-huh.
But I still love it.
Yeah.
Because it's stuff that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Just going into that and just seeing what they have.
yeah. Oh man, if you dig through, you can find some pretty obscure, odd stuff. Like I can't even begin to tell you. It's nuts.
Mhm.
Like there's like this one I watched recently. It was like these kids at a abandoned amusement park that it was fucked up. It was like it had that one kid from that one Goosebumps episode in it. Fletcher, I don't remember, but they're like at this amusement park, and like these two people are there, and there's like this they want to like climb up this amusement park ride to do like this thing, but they like the movie doesn't tell you what they're gonna do yet, but you can basically guess what it is, and they're all like a bunch of screwed up teenagers, and then like they end up kind of like manipulating this guard, but then it like goes wrong because then the guard ends up being like this screwed up weirdo, and then it gets really crazy and weird and dreamy, and it was a Canadian movie, of course, and I think it was called Roller Coaster, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd never even heard of this movie. I was just looking through bullshit on Tubi, and I see this movie Roller Coaster. I'm like, all right, why not? And I watched it. It weirded me out, but I loved it.
Yeah. Sounds like a Tubi movie, yeah. The roller
Oh yeah,
coaster.
yeah. I don't know if it was made for TV or what the heck it was, but I don't think anybody's seen it. Like, anyway,
Probably not if it's on Tubi.
yeah. And then let's see. As far as the other winners go, I still haven't watched Henry Sugar, but I want to now because it's Wes Anderson. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't watch any of those ones he did this year yet.
yeah. And I don't know. I guess there's not really much else to say about the Oscars.
Yeah.
Truthfully, that's about it, really.
They happened.
Yeah. It was over. Nobody got hit.
Oh shit. We were missing.
Thank goodness. Oh. All right. Now, I guess this is where we talk about the main movie here. This is a recent film that came out. And do you want to say the title of it?
Dune 2. No, Dune Part 2.
Yeah, that's the title. Sorry. And I keep forgetting the first one's only called Dune, you know.
Yeah.
I keep calling it Dune Part One because that's what it says at the beginning anyway. Like in the opening credits, it says Dune Part One. So it's like may as well just call it Dune Part One. But I guess the official title is Dune, so whatever, I guess.
Yeah. Because when I Googled like just Dune 2, it said, "Did you mean Dune Part 2?" So like, I guess so, whatever.
Yeah, let's give it a shot. Oh man. So okay, I guess before we talk about Dune Part Two, all right, so what do you remember about Dune Part One?
I liked it. I know I've never, I mean, have you read any of the books or anything?
Oh yeah, yeah. The first one I've read, oh gosh, several times actually. I actually have quite a history with Dune. It's probably one of my favorite books. You know, like I don't consider it my Bible. You know, Lord of the Flies is my Bible, but but Dune would probably be like the book I've read almost as many times as Lord of the Flies. Probably, like I know it pretty well inside and out,
Okay.
and I really liked the first one because it actually did a good job of pretty much laying down a lot of the basic intricacies of the world, you know, because that's what's made it a really hard book to adapt into film. It's an enormous book, you know. So I mean, you've
Yeah.
watched them now, so you can probably guess. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I've never read any of the books or anything, so I'm just going off
Okay.
the movies and just these movies too, not the earlier one.
Okay. Okay. Well, just to kind of quickly summarize my thoughts on the books, I absolutely adore the first one. Like I said, I've read the first four. I know Frank Herbert wrote six of them, but I kind of gave up after the fourth one. The sequel, Dune Messiah, is pretty much a direct sequel to the first one, so I kind of consider that to be more or less the same story. But Dune Messiah is where it starts getting really complicated, and then the third one is called Children of Dune, and that's when it starts getting pretty weird and pretty out there. I'm not going to get into it, but it starts getting like way more sort of on the like tragic level of things, like almost like biblical scale type stuff.
Mm.
And then the fourth book was like one of the weirdest books I've ever read, pretty much. It's basically like an extended monologue following a giant worm that's laying waste to humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it because it's very complicated, but that was a really twisted book. And after that, I was kind of like, all right, I think I'm good now. I don't think I want to know more than what I've learned.
And we're still just in the Dune 1 book
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
movies.
Yeah, part two covers basically all of the basic important things. I think there are a lot of things that they didn't cover. Like there were some things about the princess, the Arulan, and a few other characters that they didn't go too into. Which I think it's because they're sort of saving it for when it would make more sense to go into that, which would be in Dune Messiah, if they do decide to actually try and pull that off, which would be really ambitious, but probably doable if they could pull this one off. You know, so
How far do you think they're gonna go? Because there's definitely gonna be another one, it seemed like.
yeah. It might just be safe to stop at Doom Messiah, truthfully. If you go further than that, you start getting into some really dicey, complicated territory that would be hard to visualize, and it would be really challenging to do. And I don't know. I feel like Denis Villeneuve, he should quit while he's ahead. Like if he can pull off Dune Messiah, then good for him. But I feel like if he pushes himself any further than that, he stands a chance of possibly sabotaging something. So, and I kind of like what he's got going on right now because I can actually sort of identify with his sort of perspective a little bit on the Dune story. Like I was listening to a radio interview with him, and he talked about his history with Dune and kind of his experience with it, and it reminds me a lot of my own feelings and experience with Dune as well. And I confess, after Dune Messiah, it gets really too complicated for me. So, so that's sort of my feeling. I'm probably just projecting, but those are my overall thoughts on the books. And yeah, that's yeah.
Okay. I know they're big and beefy and shit, but yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty big. The second book isn't too big. The second book is like a little over 350 pages, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'd recommend reading the first two books and leaving it at that.
Mm.
If you're really into the story and want to, brace yourself, maybe give Children of Dune a try. I'm thinking about rereading it actually because I'm older now. It's been about 15 years since I tried reading it. So, but anyway, I did reread Dune though not too long ago, the first book. So I was a little bit prepared for this one. So anyway, and of course I've rewatched the first movie about 6 times, and I rewatched it recently before I watched the second one in the theater. So let's see. And is there anything else I should say? Oh, and I have seen the David Lynch Dune.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which is I admit I liked it as a kid. And I watched it a few times because I thought it was a lot of fun. I was like all into the whole style and scope of it. Like, oh, dude, this is like these crazy, treaties and all this. But then as I got older, I started reading the books, and then I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like one of the worst
good,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to watch for the show, actually.
Yeah.
But it does have Kyle MacLachlan in it, though, which is always fun.
Okay.
And Sting plays essentially the Austin Butler character.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there are some interesting things there's some brilliant moments in it. The cast is amazing. The set design isn't bad. Really, the problem with it has everything to do with the editing and the script. Like it's a mess. They basically like fast forward through all the events that take place in the second half of the book. The characters practically just dance right through the plot. And it's really bizarre and gross and complicated. And you got the one dude who he isn't the nephew, but he's like the crazy associate dude he's one of the nephews who he's got like a cat that he has to milk because he's poisoned, and the cat's milk is the only thing that gives him the antidote. And like it's it's an interesting movie in a lot of ways. Brad Dourif is in it. Patrick Stewart from Star Trek is in it, and he looks the same. He looks exactly the same as he did in the Next Generation. I mean, it's a David Lynch movie, so in some ways it's actually kind of interesting. I don't know, like give it a shot if you dare. Like I said, it might be fun to talk about on the show sometime, but just be prepared that it actually is like pretty terrible in a lot of ways. So,
I mean, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean like real bad, like coming from someone who loves Waterworld, and this is a $40 million movie too.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah. And also apparently when people saw it in the theater, they gave the audience like these little scorecards. I guess they looked like they were basically these little things. It's like an index glossary of terms.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah, like that's how complicated and confusing the movie is. And to make matters worse, they add, I think, about 40 minutes of voiceover to the movie, like internal monologues of the characters to help explain the plot as well. Like it's insane how much they try to cram into a 2.5 hour movie. Like,
Okay.
it's almost worth watching for that reason alone.
Does it end past where these two end?
It ends about where the second movie ends, although a few of the events that happen in the book that don't happen in Dune Part Two do happen in that movie. Like so for example, in the David Lynch Dune, the Jessica actually does give birth to her daughter Aaliyah. And Aaliyah actually ends up being the character in the David Lynch movie who kills the Baron, although it's under the influence of Paul, so it doesn't, I mean, it basically is Paul through, like, by proxy. So you get this creepy, child who with glowing blue eyes killing the Baron Vladimir Harnack, whatever his name is, Haraka, whatever. I can't pronounce the names right now because my brain is fried, but she, like, kills him, and it's like this really campy, bizarre moment that happens at the end of the movie. It's pretty funny. Harkonnen, sorry. Yeah. Harkonnen. Yes.
There you go. Yes, that one.
Okay, yeah.
Harkonnen.
Yeah, so, like, that's another thing that's confusing about these movies is, as I was growing up reading these books, I always had a lot of these names pronounced differently in my head, and so then when I saw these movies, it, like, threw my mind off. So I used to pronounce Chani's name as Chani, but now I'm trying to remind myself that it's Chani. So
Paul's pretty easy.
yeah, Paul's the easiest name to remember.
This name sticks out like a sore thumb.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and it's one that sounds normal.
Yeah, it's a really normal, ordinary, everyday human name, and it's one syllable. So anyway, so you remember liking Dune Part One?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I got the gist of what's going on without a scorecard or anything.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about Dune Part One is it actually does make it pretty easy. The movie actually does take its time sort of going through the whole world, and because there is a lot that the story has to convey, because there is an underlying philosophy to it. And so, like, the first movie does a good job of actually showing the scope of the world. And I know one of the big complaints that people had about the first film is that you hardly see any of the space travel, but I kind of feel like that benefits these movies, actually, the fact that you don't see a whole lot of space travel, because at this point we're at it according to these movies, because it takes place in the 10,000s.
Yeah.
We've perfected space travel to the point where it's like a non-event, so we don't need to pay attention to that stuff anymore. Like, part of the thing that makes the book really cool is its grounded element, the fact that it has, like, this really heavy human theme going on throughout the course of it. And so I actually felt like this film, by, like, the first film, by keeping it kind of simple and keeping things taking its time and going through things one at a time, it actually was being more true to the story. So so that's why I liked Dune Part One. And even rewatching it now, I'm noticing little character details and different things that the film highlights that don't seem important, but then the more I think about it, there's actually intention behind it. So yeah, I think the movie is pretty extraordinary just because of how much intention there is to it.
Okay.
So I do have some nitpicks with it. Like, there's, like, one moment where a character describes going down underground by feet, and then later on another character describes going underground by meters. And I think what they were trying to indicate that the character, it wouldn't make sense to go down by feet, because feet is kind of like a Western concept. Like, in the rest of the world, people usually go by meters, and so it doesn't really make sense for a character to use feet as a way to measure going underground. But
they did that in the second one too, I think, with miles or something. They used the term miles, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they did. I think that they were trying to do that because they were trying to indicate something about the characters and their where they come from and how much they know and understand about the culture and where they are, but the thing is the film doesn't really go deep enough into that, so throwing little details in sort of throws me off a little bit, and I feel like it would throw the average person off if they were trying to get really invested in what the characters were talking about.
Mm.
But overall I think it's a really, really good movie. So
Yeah, set it up nicely, at least the universe and everything, and all the
yes.
characters.
So now the big question, this is what the whole episode has been leading up to. What were your thoughts on Dune Part Two overall?
It was good. I liked it a lot. Like, again, I have no real frame of reference, so I'm just coming at these from a movie perspective, not like a adaptation. I know they are, but like, I thought it was good. Good action. The plot was great, and it's definitely like telling like a a religion type fanatical story. You can tell that it's going that route for sure with all the well, I guess Messiah stuff. He's becoming some type of religious leader. I thought, yeah, like fucking Javier Bardem's character, it was just hilarious. Honestly, like everything Paul would do is like, see, that's why. Even if he was contradicting himself one sentence before, he's like, see, I told you.
Oh, I loved it.
Like,
Yeah.
No matter what he would do, he's like, he's the one.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He was so enthusiastic, like I think that's what I liked the most about his character was how enthusiastic he got, like at first it was kind of like, oh, you're a little crazy, but then once it started going into the close-ups of the character and how Javier Bardem's face is, there's so much emotion in it, like you can't help but kind of feel like on board with him a little and kind of happy for him that he's feeling fulfilled with his like beliefs and stuff, and so to a certain point you actually do kind of sympathize with him.
Yeah, it's basically like a space Jesus movie.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kool-Aid drinking too, literally, figuratively.
Oh yeah,
That worm
indeed.
juice is like, yeah,
Yeah, the water of life.
Definitely allegorical. Is that the right for like drinking Kool-Aid? It seemed like
that's what it feels like,
because it looked like it, and then it would just like kind of turn the two people that drank it, definitely switch them over to the other side.
Oh yeah,
because at first like the trade Paul was like not having any of it. He didn't want to do it, but he kept having those dreams and all that shit. And
yeah, he's the reluctant hero. He doesn't want to do it because he knows that if he does it, it's going to result in a jihad. But on the other hand, the other alternatives arguably would be even worse. So he keeps getting forced into these situations where like every time he doesn't want to do it, he ends up having to do it. Like he doesn't want to go south, but eventually he gets forced to go south because of that. What's his name? Kaid or Khaled, Kulud, whatever dude, the K dude, the dude, the Austin Butler, who I couldn't help but notice has mysteriously lost his Elvis accent now. So, good for him, I guess. Looks like he recovered.
All right. I kept thinking like I kept thinking it was another Skarsgård for some like when I was watching it, I didn't know it was him.
Oh yeah, he did look like a Skarsgård, interestingly enough. Like
yeah, he looked a lot like the fucking Pennywise when he was all bald and shit. He had that smile and everything.
Yeah, he had that creepily symmetrical smile and all the like weird eye stuff. Yeah, I agree. He did remind me of Pennywise a little bit. Like he was pretty creepy in this movie.
Oh yeah, he was just murdering people just because he felt like it and shit.
Oh yeah, he was like wicked into just murdering and killing and stuff, and like of course there was that one scene where the Baron, like he throws him the two drugged up victims, but he intentionally decides to not drug the third one,
Yeah, I
and
really
which
like that scene. That
yeah,
'cause it was, I don't know, it took place during like a dark sun or something. I don't fucking know what
yeah,
the
yeah.
backstory,
It
but
was
it was everything turns into black and white and shit.
yep, yep.
That was really cool looking.
It was. It captured it so well, and it was really dark and intense, and you could really feel the heat and just the intense, yeah, like the psychopathy of the characters, and just how twisted they were, and how into manipulating each other they were and stuff. You could really get a pretty solid grasp of how screwed up their relationship was. Just so that was really effective. And then also, I mean, Timothy Chalamet's character Paul actually ends up being scarier at the end, remarkably enough. But
Yeah, he loses it.
yeah,
He goes full on
yeah,
cult leader.
yeah, yeah, to the point where he actually ends up being pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, no, I thought the movie was terrific. I really loved it. I'm really glad I saw it on the big screen. I'm also glad that I saw the first one on the big screen too. These are
Yeah, I saw like
definitely,
the first
yeah.
one twice, I think, in theaters. Yeah.
Oh yeah, good idea. I wish I'd seen the first one in the theater twice. I only saw it once, but it was great. I would definitely recommend, for folks who are interested. Like, I think the movie would look amazing no matter what at the end of the day, but seeing this on the biggest screen possible would probably be the best way to watch it
Yeah, I definitely
ultimately.
recommend it seeing it in theaters.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many characters, and the entire process of Paul adapting to the Fremen ways and having to live their life and essentially allow them to become comfortable with him, which some of them already are a little bit too comfortable. As you could see
Hmm.
with the whole, like, eventually they even just outright start talking about fundamentalists, which is something that they actually took a little bit of a different turn with in this, from the book, because in the book, the actual process of the South be belief being different from the North belief is a little bit more like, there's more to it. Like, you actually see the whole development of that. It isn't something that kind of just uh, occurs through Paul's sort of reckoning and um, achievements and stuff like that. It happens to kind of coincide with a lot of what's going on with them, like, sort of, as far as like what the Harkonnen are doing, and with the whole like harvesting thing. I mean, this movie actually does a really good job of tying that all together. And to be honest, if they had delved like into the politics of it all, it probably would have been a little bit more complicated for us to actually stay involved with the Paul character, because that's where we're supposed to be involved the most. You can pull it off in literary form because you've already built the world around the character, so all you have to do is tell that story. But with this, you have to kind of go about it a lot more carefully, because you have to feel what the character is feeling. So I mean, it's a hard feat, and I was hesitant about this movie because I didn't think it would be able to pull off the level of plot that ends up like I don't know. It somehow it manages to actually do it, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah, I'm still trying to process it, because I'm not even quite sure how they pulled it off. But something about the way they combine the visuals and the different cultures and how they specify the different characters' emotions and stuff, and even the characters that you don't even get to really know all that well, like the Princess Cerulean, the Florence Pugh
Florence
character,
Pugh.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
mean,
remember her. I don't. Was she not in the first one, right? I don't remember her being in this.
she wasn't in the first one, but she was in this one. And I mean, you don't even get to know much about her character, but you learn so much about what she's feeling just
Yeah.
based on the few things you see of hers, and that's really, really important. Like, that's extremely important. And
Mm.
because that's also why at the end, when I mean, we'll get to that point because we probably shouldn't dive into the end quite yet, but that's why the end is so much more impactful and emotionally complicated for the Chani character.
Yeah. Yep.
So, um, but yeah, the cast. Who else is in this besides Florence Pugh? Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
What was the last thing he was in?
Oh shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I didn't even look it up. Maybe it doesn't even matter, but it was something I was kind of curious about. Like, because yeah, when he showed up in this movie, I kind of forgot who he was at first. I was like, I know him from King of New York. He's that walk. Oh, cowbell. Oh, Christopher Walken. Like it was all coming back to me. Sort of one, but I couldn't think of the last thing I'd seen him in.
The last thing I saw, the last thing I saw him in was in Severance, that movie, that show.
Severance. Oh, okay. I don't think I saw that.
It's really good. Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
on Apple TV. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. That's
Waiting
good.
forever
Yeah,
for season 2. It sucked.
yeah. I think I knew somebody who actually recommended that movie to me. Um,
It's a
I,
series. Yeah.
yeah.
It's really good.
Oh, I think. Oh, I remember the last thing I remembered him in was the Jungle Book remake. He was King Louis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really funny actually. He actually I actually thought the Jungle Book remake was kind of cool. He played, instead of being like a silly, goofy, colorful orangutan like he was in the original Jungle Book. He was almost like a Colonel Kurtz Apocalypse Now type of orangutan who was just a giant orangutan who just kind of hid inside of some pillars.
Huh.
And yeah, he was actually pretty funny in that movie, Christopher Walken. I enjoyed that. Okay. And then maybe before that might have been like Balls of Fury, perhaps. That ping Was that the ping pong ball movie?
Yep.
Oh my goodness gracious. Ugh. Um okay, so yeah, so then the rest of this cast. So
Dave Batista
Dave
comes
Batista,
back.
yep, he shows up. He's kind of becoming a Denis Villeneuve veteran at this point. Wasn't he in Blade Runner 2049 movie?
I never saw
Ryan
that.
Gosling. Oh, it was good. I liked it.
I always wanted to, but I always wanted to see the first one as first, so I
Oh,
never
okay.
got around to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true to the first one. That's what I liked about it. It actually didn't try to complicate the rules that had already been established in the first film. Instead, it jumped ahead, I think 20 years in the future, 25 years in the future, something like that. And instead just built upon the world more and introduced new concepts, and you could sort of take them or leave them with the themes of the first film. Like, I think that's what worked really well about it, was you didn't really need to see the first one to see the second film, but seeing the first one does help because it does kind of get you a little bit familiar with the tone and the mood that it's going for, because it's a real quiet, contemplative type of story. Like, there's very little plot. They're really more like idea movies, I guess is what I would call them. They're about worlds that are in trouble. Philip K. Dick, those are the types of ideas he wanted to explore, where worlds that were in trouble, where people were in trouble and societies were on the brink of collapse, and so I think Blade Runner, it's trying to sort of say something about that. And Blade Runner 2049 was an extension of that, and they did a great job with it. And Ryan Gosling was great. The only problem I had with it was Harrison Ford didn't really need to come back. Like, they totally could have done that with a different character if they wanted, and it would have been fine. And he doesn't show up until like the last hour of the movie, so it's kind of frustrating because it kind of makes you think he's going to be a big character, and he doesn't show up, and he's only in about like maybe about, I want to say like 15% of the movie, maybe 20%. He is an important character, but he doesn't show up until toward the end. So it's like, I don't know. I think they only put him in there because they wanted to get fans of the first film to go to it, which they probably would have gotten anyway if they had maybe figured out a more creative way to advertise it. But instead they just went with Harrison Ford, so whatever.
Really?
It
Works.
yeah. I mean, he didn't hurt the movie, so
Okay.
yeah. I guess I just tend to think more in terms of like economics. It's like I don't know why. I guess it's because I'm a boring old adult who's all cranky. Yeah. And yeah, but of course, Blade Runner 2049, that's not the first foray into science fiction that Denis Villeneuve has taken. So he did Arrival as well.
Arrival, yeah. I like that one
Yeah,
a lot.
that's an extraordinary movie. One of the best. Definitely one of the best science fiction films I've seen for sure. That's like about talking and trying to figure out a way to convey messages and stuff, like, which is a really important idea, I would say. That movie it is, and it's a very disturbing movie in certain ways, but the movie does a really good job of actually conveying that idea of why it's important to communicate essentially.
Yeah, communication shit,
yeah. But as for Dune Part Two, so the fight scenes,
those are great, I thought.
they were.
So I'm not sure how the books work, but like I like how they go like they don't use guns a lot because of what I gather is they have some type of shields that stop like bullet penetration or whatever, so they have to go back to using like I don't know blunt force or sharp blades and shit. That's
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's
movie,
right. Yeah, indeed. They can't shoot each other anymore, so they have to slowly figure out a way to penetrate a shield before killing someone. So it's a little like so the characters have they have to work a little bit harder to kill each other this time around in this world.
Yeah, it's cool because it's super from the future sci-fi, but they're back to fighting like hand-to-hand combat shit.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, they're fighting even more. It's interesting because like every time it's trying to almost say something about how like every time humans make one intelligent decision, they make two dumb decisions along with it or something like that. Like, I mean, I don't need to go into detail about all those ideas, but like it does get me thinking a lot about how just certain aspects of us move forward while we also repeat the same mistakes here and there,
cyclical or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course the spice, like it's obviously like the most important substance in the universe, which is why
I forget why. I don't remember why. I just remember it being a drug from people trip on it and shit.
It is a drug that causes powerful like hallucinations that are also like premonitions, and also like a lot of the characters are overexposed. Like the characters that get overexposed to it, their eyes start turning blue, and basically they end up developing like psychic powers and multiple senses and all like a lot of other stuff. Like basically, it's just the reason it's the most important substance in the universe, though, is because it's what people use for space travel.
The fuel. That's what I thought. Yeah, because I was like, why would they be mining it if it's just a drug? But
exactly, and the reason that Baron Harkonnen is the most powerful person in the universe is because he is like the number one exporter of it, basically. So, and that's why at the end of the first film, when the Atreides bloodline and all that stuff happens, where the Harkonnen, like what's his name, Leto and everybody, they all get killed, and all that stuff happens, and basically the whole bloodline gets wiped out, and it's just Paul and Jessica left. And Paul, of course, being the reluctant hero, is constantly trying to figure out ways to avoid the path that he's on, but then he gets pushed back on the path, so it constantly ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy again and again. So I mean, that's more or less what the first film's groundwork is. And so throughout the process of the second film, he's more or less in the same state, where he already knows too much. He already knows that he's going to be responsible for endless suffering and global genocide, global jihad, basically. And So yeah, it's a commentary on how like Messiah figures are often often have the tendency to be very dangerous, and um, there's a whole theme and philosophy about being wary of prophets and people who um, are like fulfill who are like martyrs and fulfill great needs amongst the lands and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How these people can often have their own agendas and all that stuff, and so it's very complicated. But like the book is talking about a lot of very real world concepts, and it's also relating them to a lot of spiritual beliefs, which, as we all know, is the cause for a lot of conflicts in this world, unfortunately.
Yep.
It's also the cause of a lot of unity as well. So and so this story is also acknowledging that. And then while it's doing that, it's also trying to explore the line between madness and belief, and deities, and all that stuff. And um, so
Yeah.
yeah, and these are things I've given a lot of thought to. So it's a story that means a lot to me. So.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it a lot too, is that it delved into the psyche of like religion and stuff and how it can be very dangerous, but
Hmm.
also just a thing that happens naturally, I guess, for humans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it tends to be a cycle of things, where people, some people prosper, some people manage to find their footing, but then some people, are really needing to find a better life. And so, and in this case, you have a species of people are, whose goal is to protect the most important substance in the universe, which is now being extorted from them. And so, Paul, of course, is assisting them throughout the course of their mission, and is actually figuring out ways to take out various Harkonnen exporters that are there and are harvesting the spice. And so that's why there's a lot of those scenes of them trying to kind of infiltrate a lot of the strongholds and stuff, and the movie shows that entire process remarkably. Like, and you also see how the Fremen in general sort of operate, both kind of in the way that they think and also in the way they use their technology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're more ragtaggy. They kind of set up
yeah,
traps and all that kind of shit without using big guns and shit.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so then you got Shawnee, who's played by Zendaya or Zendaya. How do you pronounce her name?
Zendaya, I think.
Zendaya.
I think. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, well, it's not easy to pull off a character who has mystique, who's mysterious, but you also empathize with really strongly. It's really kind of hard to pull that off, but this movie actually does manage to do that, and she really, I don't know, she has there's just a certain quality to that she brings to the character that like you really, and it's hard to really like like by the end you really care for her, like
Yeah, felt bad.
um and actually, one of the big changes that this movie makes from the book is the attitude that she actually has at the end of the story. In the book, she actually is very supportive of Paul in the end, although the book actually does have a specific reason why. And it's because in the book they had a child who ends up getting killed in a really tragic way.
Mm.
And so that sort of lays the groundwork for why she is supportive of Paul, because there's that sort of aspect. But because this movie doesn't have that element to her character, in addition to the fact that you kind of learn a little bit more about her before you even meet her in this story anyway, um, the character actually feels a little bit more resistant to what Paul does at the end of the story. But I actually like that change, I have to say. I think it actually benefits the story in a visual sense. So I thought that
Yeah,
actually worked. Yeah.
I think it worked well. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, like I cared about the character a lot in the book too. in similar ways, but this movie makes you care about her on a more empathic level because there is a lot of pain because like you understand why she's in love with him. Because you also kind of see her whole awakening process. So
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's that whole part, the whole switch of Paul. He does, eventually, like after being forced down that path of becoming the Mahib,
yeah,
whatever the fuck.
Mahib,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's this sudden switch after drinking the Kool-Aid that happens, and you can tell like from right away she notices and shit.
yeah. I like that you call it the Kool-Aid, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what yeah, it's because the kid because I did notice too, like when they were first, before all that, he was like, "I'll love you until I stop breathing or until I take my last breath or whatever." And then,
yeah,
that Kool-Aid shit, you're supposed to not be able to, if a guy, like a male drinks it, I guess you die. Like males aren't
right,
able to drink it, but he is since he's
yeah,
Jesus. Uh, and like
hmm
she finds him and she's like, "Oh, he's not breathing," and she's like, "Oh,
yeah,
is that a little subtle thing that he said earlier that tied into, oh, okay, because right when he wakes back up from, because she's the only one that in the prophecy could wake her up with her tears because she's the desert spring, that's her Fremen name or whatever,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
he
She
wakes
mixes her
up.
tears with the water. Yeah,
Yeah, so she wakes him up after being kind of dead, I guess. So yeah, that's why
comatose. Yeah,
that's why he's Jesus, and he's like, because I'm pretty sure she said he's not breathing.
yeah,
And they said, no, he's just vital signs of Solo. You can't pick it up. So when he said, yeah, I'll love you till I'm stop breathing, that kind of tied it into that death and
hmm
come and resurrection.
yeah,
Because that's when
yeah,
he's like, he switched. You could tell like from the story wise, like,
yeah,
oh, and then Zendaya played it really well too. Like, are you okay? And are you sure?
yeah,
And he's like, yeah. So you could
yeah.
tell that something switched in Paul there.
Yeah, because now he has all the memories and he has all the outcomes, and he knows that the pathway of least resistance, the pathway that with the least detrimental outcome would be the path of taking over the Harkonnen. So at this point, that's what's kind of tragic about his characters. In trying to avoid becoming the heretic, or not the heretic, the Messiah. He ends up becoming the Messiah. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Unfortunately, yeah.
yeah. Um. So yeah, and then Timothy Chalamet, of course, he's got a pretty tough character to play too. Um. But yeah, like I said, he's pretty scary. Does a good job. Yeah, I mean, the cast does a good job of sort of conveying the characters and playing the characters and kind of having even sort of more going on as far as the stakes and everything that occurs. Like there's things are kind of at a ultimatum in this one, whereas in the first one they were sort of swelling.
Mm-hmm.
So then, okay, what'd you think of the whole like sandworm aspect
Oh, I
where
thought that was cool. That
the youth
them
of use
riding
of
and
it?
shit. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
Because you only teased it at the end of the first one, and then we
hmm
get to see them riding them sandworms.
yeah, yeah. That was an incredible moment.
Yeah.
Um, Probably one of the best moments in the whole film was when he was riding the sandworm for the first time. Just because you went on that whole journey with him to like when he could finally sort of climb on and do it, like
Yeah. From being an
uh,
outsider to that. It's like basically
to
the last
yeah,
step or whatever to be a Fremen is
yeah,
what they say.
yeah,
And apparently it was a big boy too.
indeed, yeah. And let's see, and of course, Lady Jessica has already become one of the Bene Gesserit, or is about to be like the mother,
Yeah, she's going
because
crazy. She
yeah,
was scary. She was real
she was
scary from the
terrifying.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, really sad character, very emotional, but yeah, once she drinks the water, she's past the point of no return. And of course, the mother's on her way out, so she's got to take over.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so you see pretty much that whole thing happen too. And of course, the Bene Gesserit, they were trying to plant the seeds of prophecy prior to all this as a way of trying to affect the bloodlines. But then she chose to have a son early, and that kind of made them speed up. And so when she drank the water of life, she didn't tell them that she was pregnant. So, of course, her baby also ends up adopting all of the same uh, memories and thoughts, and that's kind of I'd say the biggest difference as far as adaptations and stuff go between
Uh,
this and the book and stuff is
did they not have
it
a
it
baby, or did she not? Was she pregnant when she did that first in the books?
well, she does, but at the end of this movie her baby isn't born yet.
Oh, okay.
Whereas in the book and in the story traditionally her baby is usually born by now, or in the David Lynch version's case becomes a 3-year-old like almost overnight. I mean,
We see, yeah, because I was confused. Well, I was also just, I mean, not necessarily confused, but she was talking to the baby inside her the whole time. I was
yeah.
like, is she just going crazy, or is she actually talking to the baby?
Yep, yep. Oh, and well, and also, yeah, no, she's talking to the baby, and of course, Paul, of course, psychically, because now she can,
Hmm.
and Paul has a vision of his sister when he's in a coma there, who's the Anna Taylor-Joy. Uh,
Yeah, I like her. That's why I'm excited for if they're gonna make the next one. We get to see her, and I was like, okay, that's why I assume they're gonna make a next one if they just had her there
oh
for
my
that
God.
one brief scene.
Yeah, I really hope they do. Oh man, it's going to be hard to pull off, but oh man, if they do it right, it could be really really good. Um, yeah, so fingers crossed. I'm trying not to get anxious about it, so because
Yeah.
it's just Dune, but then I also have to remind myself that this story already has a huge fan base anyway, so I'm just kind of preaching to the choir at that point. Um, but let's see. So, oh, okay. So then another complaint that a lot of people seem to have about this movie. I think this is my last note here. Um, the final battle where they infiltrate the Harkonnen happens really fast.
Uh,
Um,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
can see that.
I didn't mind it because it happened fast in the book. It was like a paragraph.
Oh, really?
But yeah. Um,
I did think it
but
might have been would have been longer too when I was because it sounded like it was going to be intense, but
yeah.
kind of
Well,
just
it's
show
not.
them riding up on worms and then yeah, they're inside.
Yeah. I guess
That
technically it
was
isn't
cool
the
though.
yeah, it was cool, and technically it's not over yet. I mean, they it's not the last battle they have, of course. So
Oh yeah, they were yeah, kind
to
of
say the
ended
least.
like I guess halfway through like him being in there.
Well, that's what's really interesting about this movie is this film actually ends just as abruptly as the first film, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, I would say I was more surprised by the way this film ended than I was by the first film. Um, Only because I actually did think that they were gonna have some kind of conclusion, but then they actually end up sort of leaving you hanging on like the highest emotional note it possibly could have. So because you just watch this one character who you're following um descend into darkness. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what happens at the end. They invade, the Baron gets killed, the nephew gets killed. The final fight is incredible.
Yeah, that
um
was fun.
yeah, again, really fast and pretty intense, I would say. But it actually does connect pretty well to the fighting that happened in the first film. Um, and also, even though this movie doesn't really acknowledge Duncan Idaho, who's in the first film, the Jason Momoa character.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He
I forgot that.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
forgot about him.
he I don't think his character is done yet. So if they can pull this off,
Oh, really?
there is actually a good chance that he's still alive, and that when he fell in the first film, that he was just tranquilized. Like,
Uh,
but I'm not going to count my chickens, obviously, because the next film could go in a few different directions.
well, I
So
was surprised Josh
yeah,
Brolin came back because I thought he died or something from that first one, but Josh
oh
Brolin's in it.
yeah,
He shows up again. I liked his
yeah,
character a lot too. He was funny.
yeah, yeah. Oscar Isaac died. Although his death,
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, his death scene was gnarly
Yeah,
with the poison.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's a very highly satisfying sequel, I would say, to the first film. And I would also say that it delivered on many of the things that people were frustrated with regarding the first film's plot and the way the story was told.
Mm.
Um, I'd say the film did a pretty solid job actually of laying it all out. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because yeah, the first one was mostly just set up, I feel, for this movie.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Most definitely. But I would say this second film did a pretty solid job of actually not only capturing like basically everything that was going on in the first film and everything that the first film set up, but also really kind of introducing a number of really new sort of concepts and peculiarities with the characters themselves, which I think is always exciting to see. I think it was I could see people watching this movie having not seen the first one film and still really loving it. Like that's how good this movie is, in my opinion. Like even
Yeah,
if you have no idea what's going on, there's so many fight scenes and
yeah,
so much
it's
like
definitely doable for
crazy
sure.
stuff.
You might be a little
Yeah,
lost, but it's fun. It's still visually amazing.
yeah,
Lots of cool fight scenes and cool shit happening.
yeah, yeah. Like every time you think it's gonna slow down, another sandworm appears. Um and
More explosions, more
or
fights.
explosion. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild and it's pretty incredible. And it feels like there's purpose behind all of it. I mean, I guess I do have some nitpicks, like I do with the first film. Mostly with this film, it mostly has to do with just certain little weird editing choices. Like there was like one part where like one of the harvesters like falls down and kind of near the beginning of the movie, and like it was shot in kind of a weird way where like it cut to like a close up of him or something, and then it cut away, and it was like that was kind of weird. Like just little things like that, which probably wouldn't bother the average person, but like
Uh,
sometimes kind of throw me off. Like
yeah, one part that
what
threw
can I
me
say?
off was when Paul was supposed to go out on a trek. It seemed like he was like Javier Bardem said, "Yeah, go out there and come back or whatever. It's a test." But that didn't
Yeah,
really happen. Like he started going out, and then Shoddy showed up, and then was
yeah,
helping him, and then everyone was just there. And I was like, "Wait,
yeah.
wasn't he supposed to be doing this shit all alone or something?" But no, everyone just started showing up helping him out. Like, wait,
That
what? Did
was
I miss
funny.
something? Did I miss his whole first trip?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because even with how much there is to say, somehow like you still got to condense stuff,
Yeah.
and sometimes it doesn't come out so well. So I could definitely see that. And then there were some things about a couple of the other like Benny Gesserit characters that were like, I mean, I'm glad that they sort of got some of that stuff out of the way early on, like the fact that they wanted to secure the bloodline of the nephew, which is why she tested his sexual ability and found
Oh
out
yeah.
that he was fragile, which I mean, there's a whole backstory behind that too, which of course has to do with his uncle, but you pretty much get the sense of it from the first film and in this film, I would say just fine. So I don't know. I don't feel like they needed to elaborate too much on the mythology. But I'm glad they at least attempted to do it. I don't think it really worked out very well. Like only because I think for somebody who hasn't read the book, it might seem sort of like, wait, what's that supposed to mean?
Mm.
Like I do feel like there were moments where the film did sort of talk over the audience's head a little bit. I mean, um, and I do feel like I should probably rewatch it only because there are some aspects about the transition toward the end that weren't quite clear to me. Like
I
I'm not
liked
sure
it. I
they.
did like it a lot. The
Yeah. Oh
transition.
yeah. No. Overall, I did too. Yeah. But
Like
what
when
were you
he,
about to
yeah,
say?
when he was talking to that big group where he wasn't supposed to talk, he just started saying the futures of people, and then they were all just starting to bow down. And then I really
Yeah.
liked when he
Yeah.
yelled, like he used that voice power on that old lady from the first movie. He told her to like silence, and it like did that
Yeah.
echo thing, and then she was like, "Oh my God, you're the devil," or not that, but like
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that. She was like, "Oh shit, what have we done?"
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was mostly thinking about like how like when he drinks the water of life. Um I feel like a lot of people who watch this movie who aren't familiar with the story might not really understand why he did it, why he drinks the water of life. Like I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if
I don't
this
really
if
know
the movie,
why.
yeah. I mean the movie may have explained it, but there were so many other things that you have to pay attention to that like it's easy to miss stuff like that, and so
I don't know
yeah,
really why he did it, and I
yeah.
haven't
I,
read the
I
book,
mean,
so
I got the sense it was because he was tormented by his visions and he was scared because he didn't know whether or not Chani died. Because
yeah,
that was
that's
after
mostly what I gathered was he didn't want
yeah.
her to die or wanted to
Yeah.
save her somehow.
Yeah, because like at first they're resistant to each other, but eventually they bond. And then they fall in love and then they reconcile their love. And so by that point he's anxious about whether or not she's dead because he knows that something tragic is gonna happen. I mean, he knows some of the tragedies that await him, which is why he's mad at his mom. Which that's what that whole scene in the first film was. Where he's like, "You did this to me," where he's crying in the tent. Um, like he doesn't know whether or not she dies, so that's why he drinks the water of life. Because he's scared. And I mean, I felt like the movie did a good job of pulling off like that whole aspect of his character, but in hindsight, I'm not entirely sure that was enough.
Yeah.
Uh, like I felt like they probably should have gone a little bit deeper with it. I mean, I don't know. The mythology's all there. I mean, it's already remarkable that they did as much as they did with it. So
Yeah, it's definitely coherent and everything. I knew what they
yeah,
were doing, wasn't much confusion for me.
yeah, yeah. And when he ascends the throne at the end, it's a really sad moment.
Hmm.
Um, it really is, and it's two women who want to have kids. So, which you'll see what happens in the third film, possibly if they make it. Which I'm pretty sure it was announced,
I
or
think so.
yeah,
So I did look at it. I mean, Dune director Denis Villeneuve said himself that the books are becoming increasingly esoteric, and therefore he only wants to adapt the next one, Dune Messiah.
mm,
He said it
okay,
is nearly finished with a script for a potential Dune 3. But
okay,
Messiah has plenty of challenges too. So
yeah,
I guess the script isn't done. I don't know if it's even been greenlit for a third yet. So
okay, all right. Well, I mean, I'm sure Warner Brothers will be up for it if because this seems to be gangbusters. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Um, I mean, it looks like it's well on its way to topping the first film's box office. So it may have already. I don't know. I've lost track. So,
Yeah.
but all right. Well, cool. Um, I guess one other noteworthy thing. I maybe just on a final note. Denis Villeneuve has only written like about half of the movies he's directed. and this was the first film that he wrote since his 2010 movie On Sunday, which was nominated for Best Foreign Film.
Oh, really?
Um, and I would say that that's his best movie
Oh, really?
overall. Yeah. And I
Huh.
think it says probably the most about him too. Just like his overall sort of perspective on things. Because I mean that movie is also kind of dealing with spiritual complications, and it's a very challenging movie, like really, really challenging. Like both emotionally and like just in terms of just like what happens. It is quite a brick of a movie, but it's also like very emotionally rewarding too. It's a good mystery, is what I would call it. Um, so I would highly recommend that one. Like I'd say his three best movies are that one and Arrival and probably Sicario. Those are probably my top three. So,
Oh, yeah, I liked Prisoners too.
oh yeah, Prisoners was great. Yeah, that's very suspenseful. Um, did you ever see Enemy?
I don't think so.
Oh, this is complicated. It was good. I really liked it. Actually, I watched it. I'd be curious to watch it again because I saw it a long time ago, but like back when it came out. But I thought it was pretty cool. So
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
yeah,
Looking at it, no.
yeah. And then I've heard of Polytechnique, but I don't know that the subject matter of that one. I mean, isn't that about like a shooting? I don't know if I'm ready to dive into that type of thing. So, but apparently that's good. So anyway,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. I could talk about Dune forever, but we should probably wrap it up to be honest. Because how long have we been chatting now? I'm not
Well,
even sure.
at least an hour and a half ish. So,
Oh, okay. Oh, that's not bad. You know,
yeah.
so all right. Well, yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on Dune Part Two, or are there anything you didn't get a chance to mention or talk about, or any questions?
Questions? No. I mean, feel like I grasped what they were. Feel like I picked up what they were putting down,
Good,
and it was
good.
good. Like I highly recommend it for even if you haven't read the books,
Yeah,
because I haven't. I have no idea, and I haven't seen
mm,
the first one since like the theaters. So, but I still got it. It was fun.
yeah,
Good
mm,
sci-fi action if you just want that, and it has a good like also like heavy backward like all the religious stuff, religion thing, theming was cool, and I liked that a
yeah,
lot. Um, and really, it looked really cool. It was like the visuals and everything. Especially, I loved that black and white shit that day when like they had
yeah.
fireworks going off. There were just like ink blots in the sky, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? This is cool."
Oh, yeah. It was a beautiful scene. You know, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, one of the best. Like that was up there with like Mad Max Fury Road as far as like crazy fight scenes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go see it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely go see it. Excellent movie. You know, like I agree. Definitely well done. Beautifully directed, beautifully acted. Um, yeah, just great film. You know, I don't want to gush about it because I am a fanboy, but objectively speaking, though, if I didn't know anything about this story, I'd say it was pretty incredible. Like as far as like the scope of it and stuff, and the ambition, and just the amount of
Mhm.
characters. Yeah, I really, really would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Yeah, we did it.
So yeah, so I guess not really like a bad movie necessarily, you know,
Yeah,
but
not what we usually do.
yeah, but you know, a fun movie, and you know, I guess we could say, I mean, I feel like not all the movies we talk about on this show are bad all the time. Like some of them kind of fall more into just general cult movie categories, and you know,
This is kind of a cult movie.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting
A
at. Yeah,
movie about cults.
Yeah, it's about cults, and just also it falls into the category of like having a movie with like sort of a quasi cult following, so to
Oh
speak.
yeah,
As far,
that
yeah,
too. Yeah.
Yeah, like as far as having like a niche audience or whatnot, Although this seems to, I don't know, this seems to have hyped up people's Dune fever quite a bit.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
it brought it to the mainstream more. So,
yeah, I think so. It inspired me to go dig out my copy of the PlayStation game, Dune 2000.
oh shit.
Which it's terrible. It's not a good game at all, but I love it just because it's Dune. It's fun to play. Because it's like, oh, I'm back in Dune world. I got Dune
That's fun. They're
fever.
making a
Yeah.
Dune MMO too.
Oh, nice.
Dune
That's gonna be
Awakening.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, I did play the Dune CD-ROM game, believe it or not. It's really, really old, wicked, ambitious, crazy game that's surprisingly complicated, but also surprisingly easy to get into. But
Hmm.
I don't know if that game would even be playable on a modern. I'm sure there'd be a way to play it somehow, but that was like an old school CD-ROM game though, so I don't know. But then they started making more and more games that were kind of like sort of real-time strategy, which then inspired Command and Conquer. Without Dune,
Hmm.
there'd be no Command and Conquer. Without Dune,
Oh,
there'd be
huh.
no Star Wars.
Oh shit. Oh
It's
shit.
crazy. Like, yeah. Oh man, crazy, crazy, crazy world to think about. Like it honestly, like when I say I could go on and on about it, I'm not even kidding. I could go into so many different aspects of Dune
Damn.
and talk forever, and I really could. But maybe I should wait till another day. Like maybe I should wait until after we watch the Dune or the David Lynch version of
Yeah.
Dune, so I could talk crap about all the things that movie did wrong all day. That
Yeah. Yeah.
like I mean I'm actually that I would love to do that. Like,
Yeah. I'd be down for that. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, but all in good time. All in good
Hmm.
time. So. Oh, and then there's also there was a Dune TV series that was on the Sci-Fi Channel in the early 2000s, the Dune miniseries, and there was a Children of Dune miniseries as well. Like,
Oh shit.
and I did watch those, believe it or not. Those were pretty hokey,
Yeah, I remember
but
there being a hearing about a
yeah.
TV series, but I wasn't sure if I was Mandela affecting that or not.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right. There was a Dune TV series in the early 2000s, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good at all, really, but it wasn't bad as far as like those kinds of things go. Like, it actually did a good job of covering a lot of the plot of the book.
Hmm.
Believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really do it in the right order. I mean, all right, I'm not gonna go on about it because I have too many thoughts about it. But I'll try to put a little sticky note in my thoughts about that when we talk about the David Lynch Dune a little bit
Okay.
more. If we ever get around to that one.
Yeah.
When we do, if we
Yeah.
do, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember to do that, but I'll try not to make it too boring though, because yeah. I don't know, Frank Herbert. I guess he was just really into mushrooms. So
I could see that. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, makes
The
sense.
spice and tripping balls and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I get the whole like ayahuasca concept a little
Yeah.
bit, like the water of life, and yeah. All right. Well, I guess that about wraps it up. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I guess thanks for listening and hope you enjoyed and have a good night.
Yeah. Have a good one.